Hey guys, hoping all is well with everybody. In this video, we're going to be going over vocabulary terms practice number 3. Now remember that the words that we are introduced to, we're going to look into a deeper analysis of how they're spelled, what they mean and how they are defined, as well as how they are used in sentences. Now what we're also going to notice is sometimes that these words that we come across are going to have double meanings, which means that they mean two different things in the context of which they are used. Alright, and I'll definitely let you know when we come across those words. Coincidentally, our first word today is one of those double meaning words, so let's take a look at it. Our first word of today is going to be the word occasion. Occasion is spelled O-C-C-A-S-I-O-N. Now, the word occasion means a particular time or instance at an event. Okay? So, a particular time instance at an event. Now, what I used as an example in session was when you guys think of an occasion, think of something that doesn't happen on an every day-to-day basis. Okay? Think of something that happens more seldomly, and what you can really think about is something like almost like a celebratory event, like a wedding or a anniversary or a birthday. It doesn't happen on an every day-to-day basis, but it does occur in some interval of time. Okay? So that's the first definition of occasion, a particular time or instance at an event. The second definition that occasion is defined as is a reason or cause. Reason or cause. Okay, now what I want you to think of when you think of a reason or cause is a rational account or the motivation behind a certain behavior, feeling, or action. It's in response to something. Okay, the example that I came up with in session was it's in the first time in a while I've had the occasion to feel relieved when I found that the professor had postponed the exams. Okay? So basically it gives you the reasoning or cause to feel, act, or behave in a certain way to a response to something. Okay? Alright, that's our first word. Let's look at the next one. Okay. The next word is pasture, and pasture is spelled P-A-S-T-U-R-E. Now, a pasture is an area or field covered with grass or other low-level plants that is suitable for grazing animals such as sheep and cows. So, an area covered with grass and other low-level plants suitable for grazing animals such as sheep and cows. Okay. The example that I came up with in session for a pasture is if you guys are ever driving on a long excursion or traveling long distances, if you're on vacation or something, sometimes off the interstate highway you'll notice large fields that have horses, sheep, and cows, and they're just in the fields grazing or eating hay or grass. And this is an example of a pasture. It's a field or an area covered with grass and other bushes and shrubs, low-level plants that are suitable for the grazing animals, as described: sheep, cows, horses. One of the things that you can commonly see with a pasture is a silo or a barn, so to speak. Usually these fields that you see do have some kind of barn-like building adjacent to the field or pasture itself, okay? Alright, so that's our second word, pasture. Alright, let's look at the next word. Okay. Now, this next word is one of those double meaning words, okay? So it's going to have two definitions. Let's take a look at it. The next word is protagonist. Now, protagonist is spelled P-R-O-T-A-G-O-N-I-S-T. Now, the first definition of the protagonist is the main character or one of the main characters in a fictional text. Okay. Now the example I came up with in session for this one is, in the screenplay, the protagonist must rob a bank in order to save his daughter's life. Now, this sounds kind of almost like a suspense or drama kind of fictional story, but what the protagonist usually does in a story is that they have some kind of task or goal to complete throughout the story. They're also matched with what we call an antagonist, and an antagonist tries to prevent the protagonist from achieving his task or goals throughout the story. You can think of it as like a protagonist being the good guy and the antagonist being the bad guy, but it's not always the case. But you can think of it in some ways like that, okay? The second definition for the word protagonist is an advocate or champion to a particular cause or idea. Okay. An advocate or champion to a particular cause or idea. Now, the example that I used in session was that both Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. were very strong protagonists in the civil rights movement. They were very strong believers in what they stood for. Rosa Parks not giving up her seat on the bus, as well as Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous "I Have a Dream" speech. They were very strong, and they really stood for what they believed in. Now, one thing that you can also do with the word advocate, you can replace here a synonymous word or a word that means the same thing, is a supporter, someone who supports a particular cause or idea. Okay? So that's our third word. Let's look at the next one. Okay, so our next word is the word realistic. Realistic is spelled R-E-A-L-I-S-T-I-C. Realistic means having a suitable or practical idea of what can be achieved or expected. Okay, so having a suitable or practical idea of what can be achieved or expected. Okay? Now, I actually came up with two examples, one in session and one outside of session, but the one in session that we talked about was how in modern day video gaming, the graphics of video games is very realistic. It's very, it looks just like the world around us with a lot of the graphics that are used, especially with how advanced technology has come. A lot of the graphics today are very, very realistic, okay? The other example that I kind of came up with, and it's kind of silly, but it does demonstrate the idea. an example of an unrealistic scenario or idea would be when you are when you're young and you're a child, you get the question a lot, what you want to be when you grow up. I once heard this kid say that when he grew up, he wanted to be a tree. Now, I'm not against anybody's future aspirations or anything like that, but if you do think about it, becoming a tree is kind of a little unrealistic. It's not very practical, but again, I'm not against anyone's future aspirations or goals at all, so I don't mean to take that idea as like any kind of making fun of it or anything. I'm just using it as an example of how it is a little unrealistic, as it doesn't have a suitable or practical idea of something that can be expected or achieved. Okay? So looking at our final word today, we're going to once again look at another double meaning word. So let's take a look at it. Our last word today, again it is a double meaning word, is revert. Revert is spelled R-E-V-E-R-T. And the first definition for revert is to return to a previous state. It's return to a previous state. Okay. Now, the example that I kind of can illustrate with this is if you imagine that you are traveling and you're going out of the country, and saying that English is your primary language. Say you were going to Spain and you had to learn Spanish. You go to Spain for a little while, for how long you're going to stay there for. You learn the language, you learn Spanish. But when you come back to the United States, or your primary language where English is, you revert to your native language being English. You return to it, as in the previous state of which it originally was. Okay? The second definition of revert is to reply or respond to someone. Okay. And the example that I came up with for this definition is when I sent him the text about the meeting, he quickly reverted. He quickly responded back to me. Okay? Alright guys, so those are our 5 words. Let's take a quick recap of all 5 of them. Okay. So our words today were occasion, pasture, protagonist, realistic, and revert. Okay, so remember, an occasion is a particular time or instance at an event, but it also means a reason or cause for something. Pasture is an area of land covered with grass and other low-level plants that is suitable for grazing animals such as sheep and cows. A protagonist is the main character or one of the lead characters in a fictional text, or it also means an advocate or champion to a particular idea or cause. Realistic is having sensible or practical ideas of what can be achieved or expected. And revert means to return to a previous state or to reply or respond to somebody. Alright guys, so those are our vocabulary terms for this week. I hope this helps you out. If you have any questions, again, never hesitate to contact me. And then we'll be looking forward to seeing you next week with our vocabulary terms practice number 4. Thanks again guys for watching. Take good care.